So I'm recording this around Christmas time because it came up like twice. And it always seems to come up this time of year. But when people are saying Merry Christmas, right, there's this thing that we call a merger. So I wanted to tell you about it today because it affects a lot of words actually. And it's kind of subtle, so you might not hear it. But it's a really good way to like level up your hearing, right? So we're going to talk about 3 different vowel sounds and how you can hear the difference and then apply that to a few things. So let me bring up my slides here. Now, it's called the Merry, Merry, Merry merger, but they're spelled 3 different ways, and there's actually 3 different sounds. I'm saying them all the same right now so that you can kind of see what's going on here. So it's called a merger, and once you understand what a merger is, then of course, you know, you're going to speak better, you're going to speak more clearly, you're going to hear things more. So we're going to talk about what is a merger because this is one of the most important ones that we have, or maybe one of the most common ones we have. So what is a merger? Historically, it's when 3 things, or often 2 things, are pronounced differently. In this case, it's 3 things. And in the past, they were pronounced differently, but now they are not. For example, if you take the word wine, like you're drinking wine, W-I-N-E, and then you take the word, I don't want to go to school, wine has that H in it, but these days we don't say that H. So that's now been merged. So we say wine and wine the same way. So that's really what a merger is in general, and there's a couple of important ones. But that's just because language is always changing, right? So there are definitely places where some people still pronounce them very differently, and there's some places where they've merged and people are pronouncing them the same, right? So the point of this is that it's not a change that's happened everywhere. It's a past thing and now it's all new and everybody's saying it the same. No, it's very different. So we have to learn to listen for specific things. So here we go. These are mergers, and this one happens to have 3 different sounds in there. And in this case, it's Merry, Merry, Merry. That's how I just did it. Merry, Merry, Merry. That vowel is all the same. So we say that about 50% of North Americans, so Canada and the US, about 50% of us say them all the same, right? But it's a way more complicated than that. Which one do they say? Do they say eh? Do they say eh? Or do they say ah? Which one do people do? If they just pick one and they do all 3 words, which sound is it? And that's kind of the heart of what we're going to talk about today. So in general, we have a lot of vowels in English. We only write 5, like many languages, but then we pronounce about 20 vowels. The numbers vary. But here's a kind of a beginner's vowel chart, and there's more than this, but we separate them into what we would call, you can see back vowels, where my tongue is in the back. We have front vowels, where my tongue is in the front when I say them. And then we have these center vowels, so my tongue is in the center when I say them. And these are not even the combinations. The combinations have your tongue moving all over the place. And we're just talking today specifically for this Merry, Merry, Merry merger about the front vowels that are used, right? Some people can say Murray, like sound, Murray, will you Murray me? Some people will do a back vowel there. They'll say Oz and box. They'll say Mari, right? Some people will do that too, but we're talking about the main 3, and they all happen to be what we call front vowels. So the front vowels are E, I, A, and A, but we're only talking about those last 3. And in fact, you'll see on the chart there's a difference between what I'm about to tell you in a second, right? So we're talking about A, E, and A. You might have even heard it just now. So the first one, all 3 of these words, for example, Merry Christmas, right? Mary, the name, or something you do maybe after you get engaged, right? To spend your life with a new spouse, right? M-A-R-R-Y. So they could all be pronounced with what we call a diphthong. We're going to start with the hardest one first. It's eh, and then you go to eh. Little jaw movement. I don't need to move anything else. Merry. Merry Christmas. Merry, my friend, will you marry me? That's what we call a diphthong. It's one of the top 5 diphthongs that we have in English. This one happens to be the 2 front vowels, so really you don't need to do much action, but you do need to move your jaw because in a lot of languages they'll have like an eh sound, but it's just one sound. It's very short. like in Spanish or some other languages. So if that's you, make sure you're moving your jaw when you need to, right? So that's one possibility for our merger. Maybe people are saying all three with this one sound, right? For example, some other words that are going to use this diphthong, these two sounds together, right, are going to be say and they and may and take and day and change and pay and make and... Did I have two there? No, I had may and take, but then I have make on the other side. So I thought I messed up my slides, but no. Wait, name, place, and basic. All right, so all of those, these are words you say probably every day, and they've got this sound in them. So you can already make that better. Another option for the merry, merry, merry merger. Now I'm just doing one sound, and it's a little bit wider. Meh, meh, merry. My jaw's not moving before the R. So that's another possibility. Maybe there are people out there who are saying all three with this one sound. And that's a super common important sound for you because a lot of languages don't have it actually. They have the other one, the one that's a little more closed and only one, where we have the diphthong, we have two. But English has this one that's a little bit more open, and not all languages have that. So some words that you want to practice with that are like get, when, then, yes, send. We've got help, check, sell, let, men, plural, friend, and rest, right? So these are words that you should already be saying it correctly, right? Forget about the merger. This is just something you can do more in general. And then here's our famous, very famous American sound. Front vowel again, your tongue is in the front. Your jaw is all the way open. Really push your tongue forward. As in hat or cat. But in this case, marry, Merry Christmas. Mary, my friend, will you marry me? Right? All three were front vowels. We had we had and now we have sound. Some words that you probably already know and are using all the time, but maybe the sound isn't quite right. Bat, ask, pass, right? Back, fact, task, cash, bad, last, happy, actual, average. What's going to happen if you don't open your jaw enough? At least until your muscle is toned and you don't have to always open it. But at first, at least, open your jaw enough. What's going to happen if you don't? Well, we just saw it's going to sound like that sound, right? If we go back, both are one single sound, but you could be getting it wrong, right? And a lot of languages don't have either of these, so people don't always know quite what to do with it. So, merry, merry, merry. Which one are they choosing? Some people say all three with one of these three sounds, right? So if you can listen carefully, you can figure out which one it is. Now, like we said, a lot of them are pronounced the same, but which one is it going to be? We don't always know. And this is Canada as well. I just have maps for the US. Now, here's the thing. There are plenty of places where those three words, each one has its own. But which is which? And people don't always agree. Add that to the fact that people are moving around constantly, like in the US, and who knows what you're going to get. And that's why I think people, when they hear it, they do hear a variety. And so they don't know which one it is, right? So they might just do the A that comes in their language or the E that comes in their language, right? Which is probably one sound, but it's not going to be the right one either way, right? So if there's two out of the three, let's say we don't pronounce them all three differently. Let's say I've got these two that I pronounce, but this other one I pronounce differently. That happens a lot in this merger because there's three, right? Normally, well, I'd say most mergers have just two that they fluctuate between in general, but this one has three. So there might just be two that people are doing, right? So in some places, you can have M-E-R-R-Y, like Merry Christmas, and then you can have the name M-A-R-Y. Those are the same. But then the get married one, that can be different for them, right? But you don't know which is which for some of them. So you have M-A-R-R-Y, which is outside the other two, right? You can have other places where M-A-R-Y, the name, is the odd one out, right? And people are pronouncing Merry like Merry Christmas and Merry like Would You Marry Me? Those two are the same for them, but then the name is not the same So there's a lot of places like that. And then there's a lot of places and a lot of people who pronounce the name and get married the same, but then they don't pronounce Merry as in Merry Christmas the same. That's the odd one out, right? So it's crazy confusing, I think. You might be wondering yourself, oh, okay, but you're an accent coach, so how do you say them, right? You might be wondering that. So I'll tell you what my natural inclination is. It's more like this one. For me, and this is most of the time, like my brain, my mouth kind of switches it up sometimes too. So it's, if it's almost Christmas time, I might say, Merry, Merry Christmas, My jaw's a little wider, it's only one sound, Merry, Merry, Merry Christmas. Also, if I have a friend, Mary, I'd probably call her Mary, Mary. Hey, Mary, what's going on? Mary, Mary. For me, this is my natural accent, right? I say those two the same most of the time. But for me, the odd one out is if you presented me with a commitment request, right? Then it's Marry. For me, my jaw's more open there. Would you marry me? Marry me. This is just the natural way that I say it. Doesn't mean I don't switch it up. I don't usually use but sometimes I find myself and I'm like, oh wait, why did I just do that, right? Because native speakers, we're constantly influenced by these things, and sometimes we merge them and sometimes we separate them. So it's kind of a big deal. It's very interesting. If they all sound the same to you, don't even worry about it right now. But if this is something that you want to work on and you want to like take your accent to the next level and really think about pronunciation, my best advice is to just master all three sounds so that you have a choice. What I see most of the time with clients is their main thing is they can't even hear it, so they can't make the different sounds, so they're just kind of stuck, right? And they might always say, let's say the name of the person, right? And it's the letter A. Well, they might just take the A sound that they have in their language and do that. Like maybe in Spanish, the name exists and they have this kind of more center A, so they might call it Mari, right? But then when they are going to say, in English, they're going to say Merry Christmas, they might do that more Spanish sound. So me, but it's only one sound and it's not two like us. So my point is, do all three sounds, practice those words that I just showed you, and then you have a choice. Then you can decide. I think the whole thing about pronunciation and especially accent, where things change, is that you get to be in control and you say, I'm doing this sound right now, right? Or I'm at a job interview, so I'm going to speak like these guys are speaking. I'm going to be able to change that. So for me, that's empowerment, and I think that's really, really important. So here's what I want you to do. Here's a whole list of words where you can practice the merger. So everything here that's yellow, all of these slides right here, right? You're going to go back. And now what I want you to do is then practice these with all three, because each of these words on these yellow slides, they're all going to have the merger. So for example, I can say this first one, right? I can do with a, they, very, very, a, see how my jaw's moving? I can do with very, very, or I can do with very, very. In this case, these two words, you might want to separate them, right? To say like, oh, this is the one I'm always saying for this, and this is the one I'm always saying for that one. But just know, everything on this list, you have the choice of all three. So I'm going to leave you with this list, and I'm going to say, there's not one single one that's correct, but you pick and choose them. There's definitely some patterns, I would say, and things like that. So you can always ask. But here's a really useful list of super high frequency words you probably say quite often, that now you can think about and apply this knowledge to, right? There's plenty more, but these are some of the top ones. So this is called the Merry, Merry, Merry merger, right? And now you know what it's all about, and you can control that. So if you have any questions about these, you can always send me a question. You can DM me a question. You can write it here. You can also join my community. It's totally free to join my community, and I'd love to see you there, especially because we have something every month. Let me get rid of these slides now. There we go. Every month I put on a new free accent masterclass for anybody who wants to join. You just have to be inside the community already, right? And so I want you to join my community so you can come to that masterclass. It's live. You can ask me questions. You can jump into the hot seat and you can test it out. I can tell you, hey, your A, it's in a good place, but you're not doing the second sound. Or I can say, oh, open your jaw, put your tongue a little more forward, stuff like that. So I have a different masterclass every month. You should definitely join just for that. Plus, it's a whole community of people like you who are working on their accents, super supportive community. And so I want you to join there. You can just post your question there as well and actually get in touch with me personally. And if this is something that is interesting to you, then you can watch this other video that I've got that also explains the differences between all these words that people are saying wrong. And in the meantime, then I hope to see you in the community.